Folks, let me show you a number that really hit home with me this week. The top 1% in America owns 40% of the wealth. Think about that now. How's that fair? That's why they're protesting in Lower Manhattan today. Thousands celebrated after city officials backed down from a planned park cleaning that would have forced them out. The movement is now in more than 100 cities, with weekends of marches planned, and Washington is starting to take notice. But it could use more of this kind of talk.
Listen, if I am a spokesman for all the people who think that we should not have 24 million people in this country who can't find a full-time job, that we should not have 50 million people in this country who can't see a doctor when they're sick, that we shouldn't have 47 million people in this country who need government help in order to feed themselves, and we shouldn't have 15 million families who owe more on their mortgage than the value of their home, okay, I'll be that spokesman.
Joining me now is Alan Grayson. Alan Grayson's former Democratic congressman from Florida. Congressman, thanks for coming on the show tonight. How can Republicans defend statistics like the one I just showed?
Well, they can't, and it's amazing that they even try. It shows what tools they are of a term that's been used for many years now, the establishment. They're tools of the establishment. They're tools of that 1%. And there's so many different ways you can measure that. One thing I mentioned earlier this week is that there are only 4 countries in the entire world that have a more unequal distribution of wealth than the United States. And how is that working for Zimbabwe, actually? There's so many different ways that ordinary people in this country are just not getting a fair deal. And the result of that is exactly what you see, massive unemployment, many people who can't see a doctor when they're sick, efforts to cheat us out of our own Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, even the unemployment insurance that you pay for in every paycheck. And it's got to end. Right now, the cattle are saying, we are not going to be cattle any longer. Stop prodding us.
Yeah, but you know what gets me, a congressman, is when you have people raise these questions, when people like us go to the streets like we're doing tomorrow, like the people in Lower Manhattan, they're demonized, they're castigated. 1% controlling 40% of the wealth, like this is supposed to happen. Let me show you some of what Cantor and others have said about people that are just raising the question of fairness. Let me show you this.
Mobs occupying Wall Street,
dividing our nation at a time of crisis.
It's anti-American because to protest Wall Street and the bankers is basically saying that you're anti-capitalism.
Left-wing lunatics and nuts whose first thing is to violate the law.
They will come for you and drag you into the streets and kill you.
Fringe of the fringe of the fringe.
Very obedient, compliant, smug, stupid idiots.
They will drag you in the streets and kill you. Idiots, mobs. I mean, people that are saying that Americans should not be controlled by 1%, almost half of the wealth country, and that's what they're called, Congressman?
It's shocking to me. They are so out of touch with the way ordinary people actually live. There are so many people now who don't have a job. There's so many people who are afraid of losing their jobs. There's so many people who wonder, how are we going to pay the mortgage this month? How are we going to pay the rent this month? There's so many people who have already lost their homes, and frankly, they're living in their cars. That's the America that we've seen today that has been created by Wall Street. And there's a reason why they're occupying Wall Street and, let's say, not Central Park or Grant's Tomb. It's because Wall Street created the system, perpetuates the system, and controls the political, dominates the political life in this country to the point where you're not even allowed to be heard anymore unless you actually go and show up. So they're doing the last thing that people can still do in this world. They're showing up. That's what they're doing, is occupying Wall Street, occupying San Francisco, occupying Detroit, occupying Orlando tomorrow. They're showing up and saying, we will not take it anymore.
Well, you're right, because just this week, they stalled in the Senate a jobs bill that would have created 1.9 million jobs, and they're now telling us don't even complain about it, just shut up in silence, when we can see a continued downsliding of the American people's income. Look at this graph of over the last decade where the income of average Americans have gone just in the last decade. down 7%. So, I mean, we're sinking while the top 1% controls 40% of the wealth, and on top of that, they're going to call you everything but a child of God to even protest it?
Well, look, we can still do that. That's clear from what's happened up to this point. But it's a shame that it's come this far. It's a shame that this is necessary, that this is what people need to do in order to be heard. Because in the end, what we're supposed to be doing is creating a good life for our grandchildren, a good life for everybody in America. But that's not what people see. What people see is that they're falling into debt slavery. Where they owe more than they own on their house. They're buried in credit card debt. They have no conceivable way to get out or even to survive. That's what's happening right now, and people are fed up.
With the money that is now into politics, how do you win? How do you maintain a congressional seat when they've got all of these tricks now where they can bring in all kinds of money to get guys and keep guys out of office like you that would dare even question this unequal arrangement?
Well, that's right. I mean, in my case, they buried me with $5 million of negative ads from hidden special interests in what we used to call in New York sewer money. Alan Grayson is a liar. Alan Grayson is a loudmouth. Alan Grayson is a national embarrassment. Alan Grayson's a dog. Alan Grayson's a clown. Well, people have to see through that, and they're already starting to see through that, because in the end, money can't vote. Only voters can vote. And that's the one thing that nobody's been able to take away from us.
Liar, loudmouth, clown. They said that about Al Sharpton. They need to get new adjectives for us, Alan Grayson. Thank you for being with me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for recognizing the importance of this movement so early.
Oh, no problem.